Hi there, I'm Francois Bardenost. I'm the practice correspondent for AccountingWEB. I'm here at the Tax Calc Smart Practice Seminar in Farnborough. I'm joined now by Rebecca Benneyworth. Hi Rebecca, how's it going?
Hi Francois, okay, thank you, yes.
Have you recovered from all the excitement yet of the EU referendum vote?
Still reeling a bit. It's still before lunch on Friday, and I'm still a bit shaken by it. But starting to think about how we go forward now.
And speaking of going forward, we were expecting to see the consultation documents for making tax digital next week. How do you expect that this result could potentially impact what happens now?
I think it's fair to say probably the Treasury will have quite a lot on their plates. I know that there are around 40 consultation documents queuing up just from HMRC. Then there'll be other government departments as well. The Treasury is bound to be contingency planning on the economy, and Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of England, talked about that this morning on the television. But we need to move ahead with the Making Tax Digital. So I would expect maybe not Monday, maybe not next week, but within the next couple of weeks, I think we'll see the ball rolling. Whether in fact we'll see everything at once, or whether, given the understandable focus politically on other things, we'll take it a little bit slower, remains to be seen. I think there's a lot of internal sort of wrangling and machinations to go through for HMRC to decide what consultations are coming out and when. So I would expect early July. HMRC has got a stakeholder event in the third week in July. They're bound to want the condocs out before that so that they can do a little bit of litmus testing at their stakeholder event. So I would expect in the next couple of weeks to see at least some of the condocs. It may be we won't see all 6 at once because, to be frank, there are 1 or 2 areas that we don't need to sort out now. And I guess if I was HMRC, I'd be looking at what's the urgent stuff, what's the stuff we really need to get people talking about over the summer, and then the rest could follow on. But we'll just have to wait and see what they decide.
You referenced there briefly the urgent stuff. What do you think are the really urgent things that we need to sort out and need to get a handle of?
I think the basic principles and the basic structure of the digital proposal, I think, is essential because we need to start thinking about what it might look like. I mean, the advantage, as you know, I'm on the digital advisory group. I've seen some of the consultation material in its early stages. The advantage for people who care about this subject is that HMRC really have opened the doors and said, what do you think would work? And genuinely open. There is no already made up mind. There is no overall plan that this is just one of those exercises. HMRC genuinely want to hear from businesses and from firms of accountants what they think will work. So we need to crack on with that because they've got to start building it. So I think that's the really, really urgent bit. I think they can do a bit of myth busting as well because there's still a few myths around. I've seen in the last 24 hours, I've seen a comment about quarterly sets of accounts, which is not going to happen. So I think a bit more myth busting, perhaps a little bit more robust than the original myth busting they did. But that's the key thing. Some of the other stuff can wait. Should we a bit further down the line, should we do this or should we do that? We've got time to talk about maybe in the autumn or next spring. But we've got to get the main document on the road and look at how it could actually work in detail so that we can start priming software companies. HMRC are having to deal with software companies because a lot of them are going to be providing it to firms of accountants like Tax Calc. We're here with Tax Calc today, and they need to know because they've got to have time to build what they're going to do. So I think that's the crucial area.
I mean, that is probably one of the main criticisms that has been of MTD is that, HMRC hasn't necessarily made its mind up yet, but they have kind of laid out a very ambitious timeline. Do you foresee them kind of being able to stick to that? Is that something that you expect?
I think it is an ambitious timeline, and I think if we could have got, remember the original announcement was in December, if we could have got to consultation documents before the budget, then I think we'd be now starting to build. Here we are in June, 3 months later, so we would have had a consultation period and we would now be fleshing it out. It's not HMRC's fault that politically it was decided not to do it before the vote yesterday. And although you might argue now it couldn't have done any harm, but however, so it's not HMRC's fault, but they've got an even bigger mountain to climb. So we'll see, it would be nice to see actually something ready and people able to take it up early if they want to and try it out before we move to shoving people into it, but it's all quite political. There's the tax gap closure issues that's paying for part of it, so I think it's a very, very complex picture. Meanwhile, part of the project is, of course, HMRC modernising their back-end computers, and we'll all reap the benefit of that, whatever comes from the other stuff. So they're getting on with that, but if we've got 3 months to talk about this, 12 weeks consultation period, it's then we're going to be into the autumn, really late to start building stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it's something that's looked at internally on, a progression monthly. They'll meet, they'll look and see where they are, and they will make decisions as appropriate about whether to move it back or not. So, I can't really say which way I think it's going to blow, but I do think it's a very ambitious timeline. Yeah.
The one question that's also been kind of recurring a lot on AccountingWEB is people worrying about penalties, and in terms of adjusting to obviously a very new and overhauled tax regime. Are the overtures from HMRC that they will be patient with practitioners when the...
Yeah, absolutely. They know that if this is going to be a success, it needs to be the best way to make it happen is for people to see actually re-engineering my practice, changing the way I provide services to my clients is quite forward-looking. Maybe firms will see benefit out of it. I certainly am in my own firm already, thinking about re-engineering what I do and how I do it. And I think if it's good, and if practices can see the benefit, they'll take it up. Their clients will therefore come on board. And I think now is not the time to start talking about big sticks. It is a huge change, and lots of people are going to need lots of support, whether businesses or firms of accountants. And I do think HMRC get that. At some point there will be enforcement, but certainly I would be suggesting they get something and let people actually have a try of it before they start thinking about saying big sticks. So I think that will be well down the line.
That's great, Rebecca. That's everything I wanted to ask. Enjoy the rest of the seminar.
Thanks very much, Francois. Nice to see you.